Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well. I've created this video to help you with some of the more tricky questions that you'll see in the second assignment for lesson 10.4. We decided to break 10.4 into 2 different days because it's just got some tricky things you have to do. So these are some of the questions you'll come in contact with for the second part of lesson 10.4. So some of the questions are the same type of questions. So it says evaluate the expression again, but the expressions are just a little bit more tricky. So let's look at this first example. And you'll notice these are going to mirror some of the exact homework questions that you'll have in your homework for next week. For example, this first question is really similar to, I believe, number 13 or 14. And you'll see some other examples that we'll do will be really close to some of the examples in the homework. So let's see how we do this. All right, so it says evaluate the expression. Now, sometimes you can get lucky, you can just type it all in your calculator and it will give you the answer. I don't like to do it that way because it's the numbers aren't really that big, so it's something we can do without a calculator. So order of operation says you got to do exponents first, especially since there are no parentheses, so we have to do that. So 6 to the negative second is really 1 over 6 squared. We can also think of this 6 as 6 to the first power. So really what we're doing is we're adding a 1 and a negative 2 because it's 2 powers of 6, so we can add the exponents. So we can do it 2 ways. Let's do it that way. So 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1, and then plus 3. So 6 to the negative first is really just 1/6, because it's really 1 over 6 to the positive first power, and then plus 3. Well, 3 plus 1/6 would be 3 and 1/6. So that would be our answer. Another way of thinking about it is, let's say we didn't think of this as a 1, we just treated it as a 6, and then 6 to the negative second. So this would be 6 times, well, 6 to the negative second is 1 over 6 to the positive second, and then plus 3. Okay, well, 6 to the positive second is 36, because it's 6 times 6. So this would be 6 times 1/36 plus 3. All right. Well, 6 times 1/36, all right, that we can cross cancel. So this would be a 1. The 6 I can divide by 6, and get 1. I can divide this by 6 and get 6. So it's 1 times 1, 1 times 6. So that'd be 1/6. So it'd be 1/6 plus 3, still the same thing, 3 and 1/6. Okay. And that is what you'd get. Now, if you typed it into your calculator, it's not going to give you 3 and 1/6. It's going to give you the answer as a decimal. So you're going to do 6 times 6 to the negative second plus 3, and it's going to say 3.16666, and you're going to try to type that into big ideas, and it's going to say it's wrong because that's a decimal. All right. You need to know how to evaluate it as a fraction. Now, your calculators are pretty smart. You can change decimals to fractions. It's pretty simple with this calculator. If you see, there's a button right here that says F to D. Okay, a little hard to see there, but F to D. So I can hit second and hit that button, hit enter, and it will evaluate it 3 and 1/6. All right, let's look at example number 2. Okay, same thing, evaluate the expression. So here, all right, if we multiply straight across, it's 1 times 1, so it'd be 1 over, and then 3 to the 4th times 3 to the negative second would be 3 to the 4th times 3 to the negative second. All right, so when we multiply powers that have the same base, you're supposed to add the exponents. So 4 plus negative 2 is 2. So this would be 1 over 3 squared. But we need to evaluate it, so we actually want to figure out what that equals. So it's 1/9, and that would be our answer. The answer would be 1/9. Okay. Let's move on to these next examples. So this one says simplify, write your answer only using negative exponents, or write your answer using only positive exponents. So 5 times x to the negative 5th. So here, the 5 is not being raised to the negative 5th, just the x. So our answer is going to be 5, okay? Now, what do we do with this x to the negative 5th? Well, I can't type that into my calculator because it's an x, but I know that negative exponents mean reciprocal. So that means instead of x to the negative 5th, it's 1 over x to the positive 5th, okay? So this is going to be times 1 over x to the positive 5th. And then further simplifying that, it's just 5 over x to the 5th. And that would be your answer, okay? Because it's really 5 over 1 times 1 over x to the 5th. And when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. 5 times 1, 1 times x to the 5th. All right, example number 4. All right, same thing, simplify. Write your answer using only positive exponents, okay? So let's do this. 9 to the negative 2nd power is really 1 over 9 to the positive 2nd power. And then times r to the 5th. Well, we can evaluate that. 9 squared is 81. So this is 1 over 81 times r to the 5th. But we don't want to leave it like that because this is really r to the 5th over 1. So I can multiply straight across. I know I didn't line them up, but when I multiply straight across, it's 1 times r to the 5th. So that's r to the 5th. 81 times 1 is 81. So this would be r to the 5th over 81. Okay. Last example. Oh, I guess there's 2 more. Almost last example. So this one says simplify. Write your answer using only positive exponents. So here there's, again, it's 10x to the 2nd, 2 times x to the 6th. All right, the 10 and the 2 right here do not have exponents. It's just 10 times x squared and 2 times x to the 6th. So I can simplify 10 and 2. 10 divided by 2 is just 5, okay? Don't subtract those. You don't subtract 10 and 2 when you simplify a fraction, okay? Sometimes people get that mixed up with the 2 and the 6 here, okay? Here we actually want to subtract the 2 and the 6 because it's a rule of exponents that you want to subtract that. So we're going to do 2 minus 6. So that would be x, so 5 times x to the negative 4th. All right, well, we don't want negative exponents. So again, we're going to take the x to the negative 4th and move it down to the bottom, and make it x to the positive 4th. So this would be 5 over x to the positive 4th. All right, another way of thinking about it is I have 6 x's down in the denominator and 2 at the top, okay? So those 2 x's at the top are going to cancel 2 of them down here, so I'll still be left with 4 x's in the denominator. So that's why it's x to the 4th. All right, let's look at the last example here. All right, this one's pretty short, but kind of sneaky and tricky. So I've got p to the negative 3rd, x squared. Well, p to the negative 3rd is really similar to what we had to do right here. So instead of p to the negative 3rd, it's going to be 1 over p to the positive 3rd. Okay, you move it to the denominator, make it positive, and then times x squared. But we need to put this all as one fraction, okay, because it's x squared over 1. We can multiply straight across. We get x squared over p cubed, and that would be your answer. So basically, the p to the negative 3rd just gets moved down here in the denominator and becomes p to the positive 3rd. Normally, I would just go right to this answer. I don't really write that. I'm just kind of trying to break it out into the steps so you can understand how you get your answer. So hopefully that is enough help to be able to do that second homework for lesson 10-4. Thank you for your time, and hopefully you do your best on there and stay safe. Thanks. Bye.